Hey, everybody, welcome to this special interview here on the State Champs Sports Network. My name is Lorne Plant, and we are joined this morning by Mark Ewell, who is the Executive Director of the Michigan High School Athletic Association. First, Mark, as always, it's great to see you, and thank you so much for just taking a few minutes to fill in our audience just on some of the latest news here regarding the stoppage and, more importantly, the restart.
Sounds great. Good to be with you, Lauren.
Okay, fantastic. Now, first off, just because I know that a lot of people follow it kind of from a distance and may not understand the exact ways that things get figured out, but you recently met with the Michigan Representative Council kind of to lay out the plan to finish the fall sports. Remind our viewers who makes up the Representative Council.
So that's our board of directors. We have a 19-member board, which are all elected by our schools. So it's a mix of superintendents, principals, and athletic directors. So all folks that come from the membership. And so what we did was we met this week and we talked about after the 3-week pause end. As we know, we're currently under the Health and Human Services emergency orders. We're under this 3-week pause as we all try and do our part to try and get the COVID numbers to flatten and head back in the other direction. And after this 3-week pause, we now have a plan and a calendar in place that practices would resume on Wednesday, December the 9th. That's the first day after the pause that we would be allowed to go. With then the 3 weeks of our football playoffs being completed over those next 3 weeks. So the practice on Wednesday, the fourth round of our playoffs would happen on the following Tuesday and Wednesday. And then our semifinals would happen on the following Monday and Tuesday. And then last but not least, our 11-player finals will conclude at Ford Field on Monday and Tuesday, December 28th and 29th. Some of your viewers may say, well, Monday and Tuesday, why are you using those dates? Well, to get this finished during the month of December, and the fact that both Christmas and New Year's fall on the weekends, with the restart on a Wednesday, it's the most 2020 thing ever that we're kind of flip-flopping. But for us to be able to finish this in December, it's going to be a lot of Monday and Tuesday night football rather than the normal Friday night lights. Also with that, Lauren, the council did restart volleyball. Again, practice starting on December the 9th. And that calendar is going to look very similar. So that following week, the quarterfinals will happen on Tuesday, which they traditionally do. And then the semis and finals will be that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday heading into that weekend. And last but not least, our girls swimming and diving. Kind of a unique sport because those kids really were put in the worst possible spot by the shutdown, because so much of swimming going to the state finals, those kids are tapering. They train hard the entire year, and then they really back off their workouts, really trying to make sure they're in the absolute fastest state they can be. So on the restart on December the 9th, we're going to give our swimmers and divers 2 weeks of practice, and those finals are going to happen just before Christmas on December 22 and 23. So we've got a good plan in place. We're going to be able to finish our 3 fall sports during the month of December, and we just need that opportunity to happen from our state government leaders on December the 9th.
And I'm going to ask you about each sport individually. We'll just revisit it one more time just to make sure that everyone's kind of clear on what's going to happen. But the one thing that I think is interesting, too, with regards to how this came together, you've managed to create an amazing calendar that will end before the end of 2020. What I wanted to find out specifically is talk about the results of the meeting, how you guys came together, just kind of talk about the process and how you were able to come to a consensus.
So unfortunately, I've gotten pretty good at coming up with alternative calendars. This, Lauren, is really going back to last March, because we had almost a dozen different models of how we could have, if the virus would have allowed us to compete late winter and spring, of how we were going to come up with a spring season last year, as well as go back and finish winter tournaments. So it's a process that our board has become quite familiar with, unfortunately. We had to do the same thing in August when we learned that, under Executive Order 160, that it appeared that we weren't going to be able to play football. So we looked at a number of different calendars and models about, possible spring football. Thankfully, the law changed, so we were able to restart. So again, our board has become quite accustomed to tweaks and changes and what this looks like. But, going back to June, the three priorities that we've had as a staff is we're going to have 3 seasons this year. And not only are we going to find out a way to have 3 seasons, but all three seasons that are going to reach the finish line. And I think it's really important for us to be able to do this before the calendar hits 2021 to try and play our football playoffs. If there's another extension or delay, for us to try and do this in January or February, that just isn't going to happen. We feel like December is, without question, with the one outdoor sport we have left, that's our best opportunity. Volleyball is really quite straightforward. It falls on the calendar the week after the restart. And then just giving our swimmers a little bit of practice time to be back in the water. Again, the times certainly aren't going to be as fast as they normally would if they would have really been able to taper and schedule to our original date. But in 2020, that's the way that it goes. But we're pleased we're still going to be able to give those kids a final meet.
All right, so let's get back to the 3 sports that still have yet to finish their seasons. Let us know what the plan is once again for volleyball, a sport that was on the precipice of quarterfinal play. And, what's the practice schedule? What's the lead up time? And what are the venues?
So a restart of practice on Wednesday, December the 9th. So in theory, those kids are going to practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and probably on Saturday. They'll take Sunday off, and then they've got a Monday day of practice the following week. And then our Tuesday quarterfinals, Lorne, we're going to start with our original sites that we had. If some schools are unable to host, we'll find alternative sites. But on that Tuesday, 32 schools left. So we'll have 16 quarterfinal sites around the state. Those will get played on Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening. And then those winners will advance. Our finals and semis will be in Battle Creek at Kellogg Arena. Our semis will be on Thursday and Friday, as they would in any normal year, with the 4 championship matches taking place on Saturday, also right there in Battle Creek. So really volleyball on the calendar. That one was the easiest one to fit together because we're giving just under a week of kind of a restart practice, and those kids will be ready to go.
All right. I know they're excited. Let's talk girls swimming now. They were 1 week away from state finals competition. And when will they finish? And more importantly, I know that we have the talk around here is, where will they finish?
It's interesting because certainly we heard loud and clear from our swim community on the Sunday night of Governor Whitmer and Health and Human Services Director Gordon's announcement of the 3-week pause. Because as you said, those swimmers, they had been gearing their bodies toward that Saturday finish with the originally scheduled date with the taper and things that we've talked about earlier. So it's tough to get that restarted. We felt that it was really important for those kids to have some practice time back in the pool. It's different than volleyball. Volleyball can get 4 or 5 days back in the gym and practice, and you know what? We can move right on to the quarters and away we go. Just given the physical demands of swimming, we needed to give those kids some renewed practice time. So that's why those are going to end on the 22nd and 23rd. Those will be at 3 high school venues. Some of our best high school facilities are going to be hosting the finals. And part of the reason we typically have been at college sites, Oakland University, Saginaw Valley State, Eastern Michigan in most years. Well, those college sites were not going to be available to us this fall anyway. So our plan had been to hold those 3 division of finals at 3 separate high school sites. And so on Tuesday, the 22nd of December, that'll be the day that our divers are featured, to where our diving finals will conclude on the 22nd. And then all of the swim events will be on the following day, the 23rd of December. Again, giving those kids the closure and finish just prior to the Christmas holiday.
Let's move to football. So we had 3 weeks of competition left on the playoff schedule in 11-player, 2 week on the 8-player state calendar. You guys had to get creative in order to figure this thing out. You did. Please explain once again how it will work.
So again, a restart practice on Wednesday, December the 9th, and then the next round of games will happen on the following Tuesday and Wednesday, the 15th and the 16th. Now, part of what we're going to put the finishing touches on yet by early next week is, okay, Tuesday and Wednesday are the dates for the fourth round. What's the default date? Because we do have a little bit of a matrix currently of, well, if the schools are within a certain number of miles, then the host just says, here's when we're going to play. Also, you've got to look at, the weather that you're going to have in mid-December, to where even though it's going to fall on a Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to give an opportunity if you want to play a mid-afternoon game yet where it's, going to be the warmest part of the day rather than everything having to be at night. Because again, school and education, I think, is going to continue remotely here for some time. So we just want to give everybody involved some flexibility. Now, some have said, well, you're only going to give schools a week of practice on the restart. I don't think that's quite enough. Well, the reality is, at this point of the football season, which now with 2 different stops and starts has been ongoing since August, and the other reality as a former football coach myself, there's not much contact. And your practices, once you get into the tail end of the playoff season, it's really to keep your kids healthy. It's to keep the timing going. And so we're going to give you that week of a football restart practice right into the fourth round of the playoffs. And then the winners from that week, Lauren, will play the 5th round, which will be our 8-player finals, along with our semifinals. Those will fall on Monday and Tuesday, which would be the 21st and the 22nd. And then, as I said earlier, we've already gotten our agreement with Ford Field, and our 11-player finals will end on that last Monday, Tuesday in December, which are the 28th and the 29th. So Fox Sports Detroit is on board. Our 8-player finals on the 21st and 22nd. Those will be held at Midland Community Stadium. It's an outdoor venue, but an excellent facility. It's got a artificial turf, so field and playability won't be an issue. And, we know it's going to be a big roll of the dice whenever you're playing outdoors in Michigan during the month of December. And, we didn't have any snow on the ground last year during December. And hopefully maybe the one break we can all get here in 2020 is at least some decent weather coming up next month.
Hey, it's 54 degrees today, so we can only pray that it continues to stay nice for everyone. And I agree, if we can get some afternoon games in here, there really is nothing precluding from that happening. So it would be fantastic if we could do that. What about fan attendance at all of these competitions?
So currently we're making plans to have our fall tournaments end with 0 spectators. The current order, both indoor and outdoor gatherings, is severely limited. So if we have to plan for that if we're able to restart on the 9th, that certainly, and again, as a parent of a senior athlete myself who their team is still alive in the football playoffs, I know how difficult that is, but we've really got to prioritize here in getting our kids this closure and allowing our teams and individuals to finish the season in December. I don't think that we can, drag this out much longer to give us that chance to play. And we're going to have everything is going to either be televised or live streamed. So moms and dads and grandpas and grandmas and all those family members and friends are going to be able to watch their kids compete. It's just going to be different than it would be in a normal year, and certainly a little bit different than what we would want. Now, if the opportunity would become available that we can get back to the 2 spectator per participant, which would be fantastic for those events, but we're currently planning under the current government orders, which right now, Lorne, does not allow those crowds, groups, and gatherings.
Can you just touch on when winter sports practice can get back going again, and maybe when competition is planned to start?
So we feel like it's really important that we get our kids back active and engaged with their coaches. And so we would also restart our winter practices on that same date, on Wednesday, December the 9th. Know that we've got 4 of our winter sports that hadn't even started yet. Boys basketball hadn't had their first day of practice. The same thing with wrestling, along with bowling and ski. Now, girls basketball, competitive cheer, gymnastics, ice hockey, they had been practicing for a little bit over a week. So you've got a bunch of winter sports who are all kind of at different points on the map. But we're going to let them get back to practice on December the 9th. We're going to give them the remainder of the month, where in those sports that hadn't started yet, Lauren, they still got to do tryouts and make team selections. giving them the balance of December to get their team set, to get some workouts in, to get some practice in, and then where we're looking to start all of our competition for our winter sports is going to be the Monday after the New Year, Monday, January the 4th, which essentially is going to give our winter teams a 3-month competition season, games in January, February, and then most of our winter tournaments are going to be completed in March, still giving those kids a quality experience, still giving them, maybe not the entire length of what a normal regular season be, but it's going to be awfully close. And again, given the hand that we're all being dealt right now, we feel like that would be a pretty good alternative.
And everything as it stands right now, should everything progress as we've discussed, the winter sports state championships, those dates right now will remain the way that they were planned all along.
For the most part, yeah. So if we can start competition in January, so for example, boys basketball finals are scheduled for the last weekend in March. Those aren't going to move. The girls basketball, the weekend prior to that in March, probably not going to move. Now, a sport like wrestling, to where their tournament would typically start in early to mid-February, wrestling could see a move back of a couple of weeks potentially. So our board is going to meet again on December the 4th. And that would really be the date where we're going to look at some of those winter tournament dates, decide which ones are going to stay right where they're at, which I think will be most of them. But yet a few other winter sports, I think even giving them an extra week might make a big difference in them finishing off their schedule.
Okay, fantastic. One last question, and I think or anyone who knows me knows I am definitely a glass half full kind of guy, and that's just the way I approach everything. But let's just throw out there hypothetically, just because people ask, if the pause gets extended somehow beyond the Christmas season into the new year, unable to finish off the fall schedule before the first of the year, Matt Mowry, our digital managing editor, wanted me to ask you, would you consider flipping the remainder of the fall season back into the spring where it had been before, between the winter postseason and the spring start? Or are you just committed to playing the seasons in order?
No, I do think if we were not able to play it all in December, I think volleyball and swim, as we talked about, whenever we are able to get back to activity, I think those two we could finish off quickly. I mean, we've already talked about volleyball could be done within 10 days. Girls swimming could be done within 2 weeks. So whenever we're able to return to activity, those two sports can be done just about any time. Now, let's say with football, that can't happen. That could be a scenario where we could have our winter of January, February into March. And then if we need to find a 3-week window to finish our football playoffs, that potentially could be where that could fall somewhere in that March, April window. I think all of us know of the challenges of playing spring football in Michigan. We talked about those all back in August when it looked like the entire season would have to move. But again, we're keeping all options on the table. One thing we've all learned since March is you have to take things on a day-by-day, week-to-week basis. But again, what's that goal from June? It's to have 3 seasons and to have each of those 3 seasons get to the finish line at some point during 2021, and that will continue to be what drives our staff here in making those calls.
Okay, quickly, before I let you go, one of the drums that we're beating all the time here on the network, and this is, as a result to support our partnership that we have together between the MHSAA and state champs, is to continue to get the word out there that officials are needed. And I know you are an official, and again, we're going to have, kind of a real rat race here as we try and finish the fall, get into the winter, into the spring. Can you just once again talk about the need for officials here in the state of Michigan?
There's nothing better for someone to stay connected to sports and to stay connected to the game, to become an official. That's something. I'm 46 and still being an active official. It's no different than when I was 17 and a high school student. I still have my next game to look forward to. And I can tell you that for a middle-aged guy, that's a pretty refreshing feeling, and helps keep you motivated to stay fit and stay active. And what most people don't understand is you can make a nice chunk of money in a part-time job. And we know that a lot of individuals and families are struggling because of the economic challenges that COVID has created all across our state and really, for that matter, all across our country. So if somebody wants to get back in the game, go to MHSAA.com, click on the officials button, and we can get you registered and connected with a local officials group to get you trained and up to speed. And the more the merrier. There's always room on our bench to have some more officials. That's certainly for sure.
He is the executive director of the Michigan High School Athletic Association. And boy, you did not think your first year would go this way. But again, yeoman's work by yourself, by the MHSAA, by the Representative Council. We're working it out, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
You bet, Lorne. I apologize. Like 8 different angles of sun during our conversation this morning. But like everything else in 2020, we did our best and we got it done.
Absolutely. Mark, thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.
You bet.